Have you ever thought about someone you haven't spoken to in years and then your phone lights up with their name? Or let's say you're stuck on a decision, you feel confused, even overwhelmed maybe, and suddenly you overhear a conversation or see a quote or hear a song that answers the exact question you are asking. Most people brush these moments off as coincidence. But what if these moments are actually signals? Subtle nudges from reality itself, showing you that you're not disconnected or lost or moving blindly through life. Today we're talking about synchronicity, why there are no coincidences, what these moments actually mean, and how to tell when your subconscious or something higher is trying to get your attention. Now first, let's talk about what exactly is synchronicity. The term synchronicity was coined by a psychologist, Carl Jung. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with him. He described it as a meaningful coincidence. Two or more events that are not casually related, but are deeply connected by meaning. In other words, not random, not accidental, but significant. For example, maybe you're thinking about changing careers, maybe feeling unsure or afraid, and then two different people in 1 week talk to you about making a leap. Or you keep seeing the same number everywhere during a time of a transition of sort. Simply seeing 11:11 on the clock is a strong sign itself, and we're gonna get into that a little bit later. Sometimes when you ask for guidance, your answer can show up as a book, maybe through a stranger, or a moment that feels too precise to ignore. Jung believed these events occur when your inner world lines up with your outer world. And in today's modern society, we're actually conditioned to believe that reality is purely logical and linear. If something doesn't make perfect sense or seem too familiar, most people are used to brushing those moments off. So when a synchronicity happens, they say, oh, that was just a coincidence, maybe I'm overthinking, and it simply doesn't mean anything. But here's the thing, as humans, we are meaning-making beings, which means we assign meaning to everything. Your nervous system, your intuition, and your subconscious are constantly picking up those patterns that your mind can't fully explain. Brushing off synchronicity is less about logic and more about discomfort of not knowing. But if these moments do mean something, then it means we're not as disconnected from life as we've been told. Let's talk about some more examples of synchronicity. Imagine you're thinking of someone, then hearing from them. You're just living your life, and then somebody pops into your head, and next thing you know, you see a text message from them on your phone. This is not magic. It's proof that we're all connected by an invisible field of consciousness. Emotional bonds do not disappear just because time passes. Your subconscious can tune into emotional frequency faster than logic ever could. Now let's look at another example. You were driving and you missed an exit. You might feel annoyed and you ended up somewhere you didn't plan. But that detour actually ends up leading to a conversation, an opportunity, or a realization. And just like that, your life can change completely. Or you're struggling internally and you don't know what to do about something. And without even asking the question, the higher power or anyone, next thing you know, the answer appears. A podcast episode, a stranger says one sentence, or a quote hits differently than it ever has before. Synchronicities feel personal because they are. From a psychological standpoint, synchronicity happens more often during those emotionally charged periods, such as, let's say, transitions, heartbreaks, awakening, uncertainty, or growth. Because our minds are more open during this time, your ego sort of loosens its grip and your awareness widens. Why is it that we go through tough times? Because that's when we grow the most. You start noticing things that you normally filter out. Jung believed synchronicity appears when the psyche is undergoing transformation. In other words, when you're changing internally, reality reflects it externally. Not to control you, but to communicate. From a spiritual lens, synchronicity means alignment. It's what happens when you're listening instead of forcing, observing instead of resisting, or trusting instead of gripping tightly. And know this, nothing is wasted, nothing is random, and everything carries information. Synchronicities are not commands. They're sort of invitations. They do not tell you what to do, but they might gently guide you or show you where your attention is already pointing. Here's how to know when something is a sign and not overthinking. The key distinction is that a true synchronicity does not feel frantic. It's gonna feel clear, it's gonna land quietly, and it clicks internally. Remember this, anxiety screams and intuition whispers. You can ask yourself, does this moment feel emotionally neutral but meaningful? Does it confirm something that I already sensed? Does it arrive without force? If the answer is yes, it's a good idea to pay attention. If it makes you spiral, obsess, or panic, that's usually fear and not synchronicity. So what are these synchronicities trying to teach us anyway? Synchronicity is not about predicting the future. It's about reminding you that you are a part of something larger. You are always interacting with the outside world or the matrix using your thoughts. And synchronicities are responsive and not random. These moments mean that you're paying attention, you're aligned, and you're on the right track. So the next time something lines up a little too perfectly, pause before dismissing it. You don't have to label it or explain it, just notice it, because sometimes the universe doesn't shout, it whispers. If you'd like a more extensive guide on receiving guidance from the higher power, you can click on this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye.